Hey guys, we're out here doing another two-gun action challenge match. I'm Ian, of course this is Carl, and today we're doing sort of snipers.
Sorta. This is the K98k modified with a ZF41 scope. The scope and mount is replica, but it's functionally identical to the original gun configuration. This is the same Yugoslavian Kar98 that I used in a previous match. The gun's a little bit held together with JB weld in the stock. It's a 70-year-old stock that matches, but the gun shoots. The scope is roughly zeroed, hopefully. And when they came out with these, they were intended to be a designated marksman rifle.
Right.
And to just augment the regular soldiers. But they had a real shortage of sniper rifles and dedicated sniper equipment, especially on the Eastern Front. So these really did get pushed into service as sniper rifles.
So I'm really curious to see how well that works in a semi-real environment.
Yeah, I agree. This will be interesting. It's got a really small field of view, 1.5 power with a German post. It really is a designated marksman scope. It's meant to just help you just that little bit. But we'll see how that works. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I have something that is the full-on sniper's rifle. This is a British No4 Mark I T, 303 caliber. This was actually a 1940s British military sniper rifle. It then, after the war, was sent to India as military assistance or surplus. And the Indian Army used this specific rifle for many years and then finally surplused it to the US. Now, I also have a reproduction scope and mount on here. When this rifle came into the country, it didn't have a scope on it, so I've got a repro on there. But what's going to be interesting, this has much better optics. The cheek rest gives it a very nice cheek weld. It's a pretty easy gun to shoot accurately, but because it has a higher magnification scope, it's going to be a little slower for me to use than yours. I also don't have any way to use stripper clips with this, so I'm going to be single loading cartridges, while Carl's going to be able to use stripper clips.
But you start with 10, I start with 5.
Yep.
I have iron sight accessibility, you do
don't.
not. I have a scope that's lower magnification, better for close up perhaps, but you've got something that's going to give you an advantage at long range, or longer ranges.
So,
this is an actual German gun. It was just refurbished by the Yugoslavians, just to make that clear to everyone watching the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course you're going to be shooting a P38 and I'm going to be shooting a high power.
P38 and high power, so we're really roughly trying to make this as realistic as possible for what we're doing. Yeah.
All right, well I'm psyched to see how this works, so let's go hit up the first stage.
All right, good luck. Did it fall?
It's going.
It fell.
Good job. You're good. That's it. Good job.
No hit. Hit.
Now, baby.
Spine hit, Russ.
Close.
Fuck, where is it? Hit. 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 Yeah, Enfield. Bloody hell. Hit. Woo! He beat me by 14 seconds.
Hit. Got it. Beautiful. The other one on.
I killed it again.
You hurt that horn damn optic.
Is that really?
Yeah, high.
I'll get it. I'll just go back and shoot. Wow.
Done.
All right, so we're all finished, finally. That last stage was a killer, wasn't it?
Back and forth sprints with pistols and rifles in whatever temperature with whatever humidity.
Normally it's not that humid out here in Arizona, but today is just monstrous.
What you can't tell watching this video is that 25%, if not more, of this match is your performance degrading in our weather. And it was showing today.
Yep. Now, getting to the guns, I think the place where I was most curious to see the results was going to be stage 3, the long range. Yeah. The question was, is that little tiny DMR optic, is it as good as a full-on scope for that sort of engagement?
No. Okay. This optic was designed to be a designated marksman rifle. It was supposed to just augment a bunch of soldiers and give them a little extra advantage. It was not intended to be a sniper rifle or a sniper scope. And if you look at Sniper at on the Eastern Front, for example, he talks very negatively about this scope because he's coming at it from the perspective of a sniper. Someone that's hiding in the brush, using field craft, taking long-range shots, or precision shots. It's not really what this is for. It's to give you that little edge better than the iron sights in real-world conditions. So compare the two. No, that's far more precise.
And for one particular reason, that even at 75 to 150 yards, the targets we had out there were extremely difficult to see. They really blended into the backdrop. And it was a lot easier to identify targets with this 3.5 power.
We have a no painting of targets policy in this match. When they go out the way they are. They get shot up, they blend into the background, and it's realistic.
Right.
So when you have 4x, and I have 1.5x with, by the way, a very narrow field of view. This is very narrow. Yeah. This is soda straw. Once you can see the target, you can identify it better, but finding it is a little challenging. In fact, I had to move under the scope a couple times to get myself aligned to see it. Yeah. So in terms of identifying what you're shooting at and getting a better hit when you fire, yes, it's helpful.
Yeah.
In terms of just having more precision, it's not.
But we did also see you were significantly faster than the last stage here, and also on the first stage, where it was large targets up close that you didn't have to work on identifying the targets. They were just there and take the shot.
Ironically, yeah, this fits into this like weird realm of trying to make something that gave them a little extra range, but something that they could still use in fluid and moving combatives. Excuse me. So on the shorter ranges, 50 yards, this was pretty good. I mean, you can pick it up, you're there, you're quick. You get a little better sight picture than with irons. It's composed, it's very precise for that. Yeah. But then when you start getting to 100, 200 yards and the targets are moving in, that's when the sniper rifle becomes a sniper rifle.
All right, so we talked a bunch about your rifle. I think it's worth making some comments about the Enfield. This is a No. 4 Mark 1T. As I said, the scope and the mount are reproductions, but the rifle is authentic. It's heavy. This is significantly heavier than that 98K.
I would agree.
Which was a definite liability for me trying to shoot offhand. Also, because the scope isn't quick detach and it does sit directly over the bore, I can't use stripper clips with this. And historically, the Brits weren't issued multiple magazines. So if you're running this rifle in the British Army, you're hand loading it 1 cartridge at a time, which is what I did here. Now, it's easier to do than many rifles that way. They do slip in nicely, but it's slower, and that's something that you just have to recognize and deal with. Beyond that, it worked great. It's a 3.5 power scope. I had no trouble at all identifying targets on the long range stage. It does, it works. They're good rifles.
Yeah, I would say that because of that liability of reloading, and by the way, a sniper rifle, generally speaking, you don't think you have to do a quick reload.
Right.
But when you start reading books, the Soviet experience, the German experience, they had a different mindset of snipers. They would sit in position and they would lay down fire much like a machine gunner were in certain circumstances. They were used as to hold back forces. So their ability to get replenished quickly was important. So in that regard, you see some of the German mindset on this, and even some of their genuine sniper rifles. You can't use a stripper clip, but reloading's faster. Yeah. So in terms of, if you were to shoot this against me, you'd start with 10, but I bet you I could get a higher rate of fire.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. And one other thing I want to talk about, pistol performance. Something I noticed, I of course had a high capacity, high power today, which is something I'm not used to shooting. I pretty much always shoot a single stack, usually my baluster, but even when I'm shooting other old pistols, they're pretty much all single stack. And I discovered when I got to cartridge 9, 10, 11, my brain was really trying to tell me that I needed to reload. And it surprised me. I was honestly not expecting that. And it took some mental work to get over that and keep shooting.
It's interesting that the patterns you get into in shooting.
Yeah.
You can, Larry Vickers likes to use the term training scars. I don't know that I'd use that, but you really do get this weird cognitive almost subconscious thing going on. And I think that whatever you're doing that's your practice, if it's practice for real world shooting or practical shooting, you should train yourself to the lowest common denominator of the event.
Yeah.
For example, myself, I shoot all sorts of guns, Nambus, modern guns, everything. I train to only reload, unless it's a very gamey game, I only reload at hold open. When I'm dry, that's when I reload.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of real world. So you've been training yourself for, say, 7 or 8 rounds.
Right.
Yeah.
No. And I didn't even discover that I had
Found
one
it
until
today. We also had a mishap.
Yeah, we should talk about that. So the first time I went through stage 3, I think the rifle had actually fallen on the ground at some point, and I didn't see it, and someone picked it up and put it
There's
back.
some scuffs on it.
Yeah, there are a couple scuffs here on the side. And I think it dislodged my zero, because my zero was pretty good to begin with, and then going through stage 3, I went through a dozen rounds without a single hit. No idea, and I just stopped. There was no point in wasting the ammo. And then we took a few minutes to go ahead and re-zero the gun with some help. Thank you. And then I reshot the stage, and as you saw, I shot it clean, I think.
Yeah, you actually beat me by about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I'll be damned that I'm going to win this with you having a broken rifle. We're going to fix it, and we're going to make this straight, which we did.
Yeah.
So,
but it's an interesting thing that kind of jolt will, in fact, totally screw your zero. And if I were in combat, that's a thing that can very easily happen and something you need to be aware of.
I'm going to reference a Sniper on the Eastern Front one more time. That was drilled into the German soldiers, and I'm sure all the others. The scopes of that time aren't the scopes of today. They're not an ACOG you drop off a truck. They're just not that durable.
Right.
So I know this from that book, if a German soldier was found without his rifle with him, if he was controlling where it was and making sure there wasn't damage happening to the scope, they got punished. There was physical, like push-ups or whatever, but it was drilled into them. You're never without it. You always have it. You protect the scope.
Yeah.
And we found that out today.
That also explains why a lot of countries had detachable scopes and issued scope cases, and you'd carry the scope around in the case, except when you were actually going to use it.
Now here's what I will say. I didn't lose zero today. The gun does shoot better with the scope on it. It is that little advantage they thought it should be. It just isn't what they pressed it into. So is it cool? Yeah. Would I rather have it than just irons? Yes. Would I want to use it as a sniper rifle? No.
All right. Well, I think you ended up beating me once again. Not a surprise.
Not by much.
But very fun match.
It was. Thank you.
Cool. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Tune back in again next month for another 2-gun match on Forgotten Weapons.